The morning air was cool and fresh as Tay hiked through the forest. He carried a small basket, already half filled with herbs and plants. As a wildlife veterinarian, he knew which plants could heal animals. Today was perfect for collecting more supplies. Tay liked the quiet life here, far from the busy city of Seoul where he once worked. His small cabin sat at the edge of the forest, simple but comfortable. After 5 years of treating pets and zoo animals in the city, the stress had become too much. Here in this small mountain town, he found peace helping injured forest creatures instead. Just a few more mint leaves, he said to himself, kneeling by a patch of wild herbs. The explosion came without warning. A sound like thunder split the air, so powerful it shook the ground beneath Tay's feet. Birds scattered from trees, their frightened calls filling the air. Tay dropped his basket, covering his ears as the sound echoed through the mountains. What was that? He whispered, heart racing. His first thought was a plane crash. Looking up, he saw a trail of smoke cutting across the blue sky, ending somewhere in the forest ahead. Without thinking, Tay ran toward it. If someone was hurt, they would need help. The smell hit him first, hot metal and strange chemicals. Then he saw it, a clearing that hadn't existed yesterday. Trees knocked flat in a circle around a smoking object. Tay slowed, approaching carefully. It wasn't an airplane. The object was small, maybe the size of a car, but round and made of a silvery material Tay had never seen before. Part of it had split open, revealing complicated machinery inside. "Hello?" Tay called out. "Is anyone hurt?" A weak sound answered him, a sort of musical moan that didn't sound human. Carefully, Tay moved closer to the crashed object. Behind it, partially hidden by broken tree branches, lay a figure. Tay froze. The being on the ground was clearly not human. Its skin was pale blue and seemed to glow slightly from within like moonlight through thin ice. It had a generally human shape, 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, but was smaller and more delicate looking. Large almond-shaped eyes took up most of its face, now half closed in pain. Blue liquid. Blood? Seeped from a wound on its side. Tay's first instinct was to run. This couldn't be real. But then the being's eyes fully opened, looking directly at him. The pain in those strange eyes was unmistakable, and Tay's medical training kicked in. Pain was pain. Suffering was suffering. Human or not, this creature needed help. He approached slowly, hands raised to show he meant no harm. "I'm a doctor," he said, though he doubted the creature understood. "I can help you." The being made another musical sound, weaker this time. It tried to move away from Tay but cried out in pain. "Don't move," Tay said softly. He knelt beside the creature, examining the wound without touching it. The cut was deep, still leaking the glowing blue fluid. Whatever this being was, it would die without help. Tay reached for his emergency kit, always in his pocket during forest walks. He had basic supplies, bandages, antiseptic, pain relievers. Would any of it work on an alien body? He had no choice but to try. As gently as possible, Tay cleaned the wound with water from his bottle. The being flinched but didn't fight him. When he applied the antiseptic cloth, however, the creature cried out, its skin darkening where the medicine touched. "I'm sorry," Tay said quickly, wiping the antiseptic away. "That's not working for you." He thought fast. Clean water seemed safe enough. He rinsed the wound thoroughly, then applied simple pressure with a clean bandage. To his relief, the blue blood began to slow. A sound overhead made Tay look up. A helicopter was passing, probably military from the nearby base. Without understanding why, Tay felt sudden fear. What would happen if others found this creature? Would they help it or study it? The alien seemed to share his concern, its eyes following the helicopter with clear fear. "I need to get you somewhere safe," Tay decided. "My cabin isn't far." He fashioned a makeshift stretcher from his jacket and some branches. The being was surprisingly light, maybe 40 kilograms at most. Still, carrying it through the forest was difficult. Every time they hit a rough spot, the creature made soft, musical sounds of pain. Almost there, Tay kept saying, though he knew the words meant nothing to his strange patient. By the time they reached his cabin, Tay was sweating and the alien's blue glow had dimmed alarmingly. He took the creature straight to his examination room, a converted bedroom where he treated injured forest animals. Laying the alien on the table, Tay worked quickly. The wound needed stitches, but would the being's skin accept his suture thread? Would his needles even penetrate that strange blue skin? There was only one way to find out. To Tay's surprise, the needle went through easily, though the skin felt oddly cool to the touch. He stitched carefully, using the smallest thread he had. The blue blood glowed on his gloves. "I hope I'm helping and not making things worse," he murmured. 3 hours later, Tay had done all he could. The wound was cleaned and stitched. He had set up an IV with simple sugar water, hoping it wouldn't harm the alien. The being had fallen unconscious during treatment, but its chest still rose and fell in a steady rhythm. Tay sat back, exhausted, but relieved. He had no idea what would happen next. Should he call someone? The police? Scientists? But every time he thought about making that call, he remembered the fear in those large eyes when the helicopter passed. "Rest now," he told the sleeping alien. "You're safe here." That night, Tay slept in a chair beside the examination table. He woke every hour to check on his patient. By morning, the alien's glow had strengthened slightly. For 3 days, Tay barely left the room. He tried different foods. Water the alien accepted, fruit juice it rejected violently. Plain rice seemed safe enough. The wound was healing surprisingly fast. On the 4th morning, Tay entered the room to find the alien sitting up, watching him with fully alert eyes. It made a series of musical tones, then reached slowly into a pocket in its strange suit. Tay tensed, but the alien merely pulled out a small device. It pressed something and the device lit up. More musical sounds came from the alien, but this time they were followed by words in a mechanical voice. "Thank you. You saved me." "Why?" Tay stared in amazement. "You can understand me?" The alien adjusted something on the device. "This translator. Not perfect. Why help me?" Tay thought about it, then answered simply, "You were hurt. I'm a doctor. That's all that mattered." The alien's skin rippled with changing colors, from blue to purple and back again. "My name..." The device made an impossible sound. "You can call me Nara." "I'm Tay," he replied. "What are you? Where did you come from?" Nara looked at him for a long moment. "Far away, my ship crashed. I am scout for my people. We watch Earth long time." A military helicopter chose that moment to fly low over the cabin, making Nara shrink back in fear. "They search for me?" She asked through the translator. "Probably," Tay admitted. "What will they do if they find you?" "Cut, study, learn secrets." Nara's skin darkened to deep blue. "Not ready for us yet. Some humans good, some not." Tay made a decision then, one that would change his life forever. "I'll help keep you hidden, until you're well enough to go home." Nara's skin lightened again. "Thank you, Tay. I remember kindness. My people remember." Outside, another helicopter passed. Tay drew the curtains closed. Whatever happened next, he knew his quiet life in the forest was over. A week had passed since Tay found Nara in the crashed ship. Her wound was healing well, but they faced a new problem. Nara's translator device was breaking down. It worked for only short periods before making strange buzzing sounds and shutting. "Off, home, signal, broken," Nara said through the translator before it died again. She tapped the small device with a frustrated look. Tay set down a bowl of rice, which had become Nara's main food. "We need to find a better place for you to stay. This room is too small." He had converted his basement into a living space for Nara. The small window was covered with a blanket, and he had moved a spare bed down there. It wasn't much, but it was safer than the examination room with its large windows. Nara followed him downstairs, moving carefully. Her steps were steadier now. The blue glow of her skin lit the dark stairway. Better? Tay asked, showing her the space. Nara touched the bed and looked around. Her translator sparked to life again. Good. Thank you. Tay had many questions, but waited patiently as Nara settled on the bed. When she seemed comfortable, he asked, "Why were you watching Earth?" Nara worked with her translator for a moment. "My people, Luminari, watch many worlds. Learn. We peaceful." "Are there others like you here?" Tay asked. "No, I alone," the translator crackled. "First contact mission. Study humans up close. Ship failed." Tay thought about this. "Does your family know you're alive?" The question seemed to sadden Nara. Her skin darkened. "No signal. Cannot call ship." Before Tay could respond, a knock came at the front door. Nara's eyes widened in fear. "Stay here," Tay whispered. "Be quiet." He closed the basement door and went to answer the knock. It was June, the forest ranger and Tay's only real friend in town. "Tay, I was getting worried," June said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. He carried a bottle of soju. "You haven't come to town in over a week." "I've been busy," Tay said quickly. "Many injured animals lately." June looked around. The cabin. "Did you hear that big boom last week? Military says it was just a training exercise, but I've never heard anything like it." "I heard something," Tay said, trying to sound casual. "Probably just jets breaking the sound barrier." A soft musical sound came from the basement. June turned his head. "What was that?" Tay's heart raced. "Just the heater. It makes strange noises." "In summer?" June raised an eyebrow. "It's an old system." Tay moved toward the kitchen. "Want some tea? I don't feel like drinking today." June followed him, looking suspicious. "Are you okay? You're acting strange." "Just tired. Been working late." As they talked in the kitchen, more sounds came from the basement. A thump, then what sounded like words in a language neither man knew. "That's not a heater," June said firmly. "What are you hiding, Tay?" Before Tay could answer, the basement door opened slightly. A blue glow spilled into the hallway. June's mouth fell open. "What the—" "I can explain," Tay said, though he had no idea how. Nara stepped into view, her translator in hand. She spoke into it, and it translated. "Friend of Tay?" June backed away until he hit the wall. "What is that? Who is that?" Tay moved. Between them. "June, please don't panic. This is Nara. She's not from here." "Not from here?" June's voice rose. "She's glowing blue." Nara stepped forward, her movements graceful despite her recent injury. "Not harm you. Peace." For the next hour, Tay explained everything to a stunned June. The crash, finding Nara, treating her wound, and hiding her from the military helicopters that still occasionally flew over the forest. "This is crazy," June said when Tay finished. "We should tell someone. Scientists, the government." "No," both Tay and Nara said at once. Tay put a hand on his friend's shoulder. "Think about it, June. What would they do to her? Lock her up? Experiment on her? She's a person, not a thing to study." June looked at Nara, who watched him with large, intelligent eyes. "You really understand what we're saying?" he asked her. Nara held up her translator. "Yes. Device breaking. Soon no talk." June rubbed his face. "I can't believe this is happening." "Will you keep our secret?" Tay asked. June was quiet for a long time. Finally he nodded. "Yes. But you need help. You can't keep an alien in your basement forever." "I'm working on that," Tay said, though he had no plan at all. The next day, Tay brought down paper and pens. If Nara's translator stopped working completely, they would need another way to communicate. "We learn," he said, pointing to the paper. "I teach you Korean. You teach me your language." Nara seemed to understand. She took a pen and drew strange symbols. "Luminari," she said. Over the next few days, they created a simple picture dictionary. Tai drew objects and wrote their Korean names. Nara added symbols from her language. Water, Tai would say, pointing to a drawing. Mila, Nara would respond, making a flowing gesture with her hands. They spent hours this way. When Nara's translator worked, they used it to ask deeper questions. How far is your home? Tai asked one evening. Far. Many light years. Nara pointed to a star barely visible through the small basement window. Near there. Will they come looking? For you? Nara's skin rippled with changing colors. Yes, but take time. Ship small, not important mission. This saddened Tai, though he didn't know why. You're important, he said firmly. Nara's translator crackled. Thank you. You good human. First human friend. One night, as they practiced words, someone knocked at the door again. Tai went up to find his ex-girlfriend Suk standing there. You've been ignoring my calls, she said, pushing past him. I was worried. Suk, now isn't a good time. You always say that. She looked around. What's with the blanket on the basement door, and why is there blue light coming from under it? Tai's stomach dropped. It's nothing. Just a project I'm working on. Suk walked toward the basement door. What kind of project glows blue? Suk, please. But she had already pulled the blanket aside and opened the door. She stood frozen, staring down at Nara, who looked back with equal surprise. Hello, Nara said in Korean, one of the few words she had learned. Suk screamed. Tai quickly closed the front door and tried to calm Suk. Down. She won't hurt you. She's friendly. What is that thing? Suk demanded, shaking. Not thing. Person, Nara said through her translator, which thankfully was working. Name Nara. It took longer to convince Suk than it had June. She kept wanting to take pictures with her phone, which Tai forbade. No proof, he insisted. This stays between us. People should know about this, Suk argued. This is the biggest discovery in human history, and they will know, Tai said. But not yet. Not until Nara is safe and we understand more. By the end of the evening, Tai had 2 human friends who knew his secret. It was both comforting and terrifying. More people meant more help, but also more risk of discovery. That night, as Tai checked on Nara before bed, she showed him something on her translator, a map of stars, with one blinking red. Bad coming, she said simply. Bad? What do you mean? Tai asked, but the translator died completely then, leaving them staring at each other in the blue glow of Nara's skin, unable to share the warning she so desperately wanted to give. 2 weeks had passed since Nara crashed in the forest. Her translator no longer worked at all. Despite this, she and Tai had developed their own simple way to talk, using pictures, hand signs, and the few Korean words Nara had learned. One morning, Tai noticed something strange. His phone would not work properly in the cabin. The lights flickered on and off. Even his old radio made only static noises. Something is wrong with the power, he told Nara, making gestures to help her understand. Nara nodded. She pointed to herself, then made a wave motion with her hands. You're causing this? Tai asked. Nara shook her head. She drew a quick picture on their shared notepad. Another spaceship, different from her small scout vessel. Below it, she drew scary-looking figures. Others are coming? Tai guessed. Nara nodded, her blue skin darkening with what Tai now understood was fear or worry. A knock at the door interrupted them. June entered, looking concerned. Have you been outside today? He asked Tai. No. Why? Animals are acting strange. Birds flying in circles, deer running without stopping, and look at this. June held up his compass. The needle spun wildly, not pointing north. Nara saw the compass and made an urgent sound. She grabbed the notepad and drew quickly. The strange ship again, with wavy lines coming from it. I think she's saying whatever is causing the animals to act strange is connected to this ship, Tai explained. June sat down heavily. Great. More aliens. Not like Nara, Tai said. She seems afraid of them. As they talked, Suk arrived, entering without knocking. Her face was pale. The military is setting up checkpoints on all roads into town, she announced. They're saying it's a training exercise, but nobody believes that. Tay translated this news for Nara using their simple signs. Nara's reaction was immediate and frightening. She ran to the basement and returned with a small device. Not her translator, but something that looked like a compass with strange symbols. The device lit up with red lights, and Nara made urgent sounds. "What is it?" June asked. "What's she saying?" "I don't know exactly," Tay admitted, "but I think we're in danger." That afternoon, as the friends tried to understand Nara's warnings, Tay noticed that she looked unwell. Her blue glow was dimmer, and she seemed to have trouble breathing. "Are you sick?" he asked, touching his own forehead to indicate fever. Nara nodded weakly. She pointed to the air, then to her chest, making a painful face. "The air is hurting you?" Tay guessed. Nara made a so-so gesture with her hand. Tay thought quickly. "Is it something in our air? Something you're not used to?" Nara nodded more strongly. Using his medical knowledge, Tay began to think about what might help. He brought Nara an oxygen mask from his veterinary supplies and set it up. It seemed to help a little, but not enough. "We need to know exactly what's wrong," Tay told the others. "But without her translator working, it's so hard to understand." "Maybe I can help," said a new voice. Everyone turned to see a young woman standing in the doorway that Suk had left open. She had short hair and carried a camera bag. "Who are you?" Tay demanded, moving to block Nara from view. "I'm Mina. I run a blog about strange things in nature." She looked past Tay at the glowing blue figure. "And I'm guessing that's not a person in a costume." Before anyone could stop her, Mina took a picture. The flash seemed to hurt Nara, who made a pained sound and covered her eyes. June grabbed the camera from Mina. "No pictures." "Hey, that's my property." "How did you find this place?" Tay asked angrily. "People in town are talking about strange lights in the forest. I followed the stories." Mina's eyes were wide with excitement. "Is that really an alien? This is amazing." While the humans argued, Nara's condition grew worse. She collapsed to the floor. Her breathing labored. "Stop fighting," Tay shouted. "She needs help." Everyone gathered around Nara. Her skin had turned a dull gray blue and she was shivering. "What's wrong with her?" Suk asked, genuinely concerned. Tay checked Nara's pulse, faster than normal. Her skin felt too warm, which he knew was bad for her normally cool body. "I think she's having an allergic reaction," he said. "Or maybe something." "Like radiation sickness." "From what?" June asked. "From whatever is causing the animals to act strange and the compasses to spin," Tay guessed. "The same thing that's making electronics fail." Mina, despite the rough introduction, seemed genuinely concerned for Nara. "I studied biology in college. Maybe I can help?" Together, Tay and Mina examined Nara, while June and Suk kept watch outside. Using Tay's veterinary medicines and Mina's suggestions, they created a mixture that might help Nara's body fight whatever was making her sick. "I don't know if this will work," Tay warned as he gave Nara the medicine. "Her body is so different from ours." Hours passed. Night fell. Nara's condition improved slightly. Her glow strengthened, and her breathing eased. Outside, the forest had gone completely silent. No bird sounds, no insects chirping, just unnatural quiet. "Something's coming," June said, looking out the window. "Look at the sky." Strange lights moved across the night sky, too fast and too sharp in their turns to be airplanes. A military helicopter flew low over the trees, spotlights searching the forest. Nara woke up and immediately pointed to her device, which was now flashing rapidly. She made urgent motions. "We need to leave." "She wants us to go," Tay told the others. "I think whatever she's afraid of is getting closer." "Where would we go?" Suk asked. "The roads have checkpoints." "I know the forest paths," June offered. "Places vehicles can't follow." As they quickly packed supplies, a new sound filled the air, a deep, pulsing hum that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The cabin walls vibrated. Pictures fell from shelves. Through the window they saw a bright light descend into the distant mountains. Another ship, Tay whispered. Nara grabbed his arm, her eyes wide with fear. She drew one last picture. The strange beings from the ship, carrying what looked like weapons, with smaller figures in cages. They capture people? Mina asked, looking over Tay's shoulder. Nara nodded grimly. We need to warn the town, June said. Who would believe us? Suk argued. We need to get Nara to safety first. She's the only proof we have. Tay looked at Nara, who had become so important to him in such a short time. What do you want to do? Nara pointed to the device, then made a motion like sending a signal upward. She wants to call her people, Tay guessed. But her equipment is broken. Nara nodded, then pointed to the distant light where the new ship had landed, then to her device again. Wait, Mina said, her eyes widening. Is she saying she needs something from that other ship? Some technology? Nara nodded emphatically. Ty felt his stomach sink. She needs us to go to the other alien ship, the dangerous one, to get something that will help her call home. The room fell silent as everyone understood what this meant. Going toward danger instead of away from it. That's suicide, Suk whispered. Tay looked at Nara, who was watching him with those large, expressive eyes. He remembered finding her wounded in the forest, how she had trusted him when she had every reason to be afraid. I'll go with her, he said firmly. The rest of you should get to safety. June put a hand on Tay's shoulder. You won't go alone, I'm coming too. Me too, Mina added, surprising everyone. Someone needs to document this. Suk hesitated, then sighed. I guess I'm in too. We'll need my car to get close to the mountains. Outside, more helicopters passed, overhead. The hum from the distant ship grew louder. And somewhere in the forest, something that wasn't human began to move toward the town. Suk drove her car as far as possible up the mountain road. The military checkpoints were busy with the town side of the forest, leaving this remote path clear. Still, they moved carefully, keeping headlights off. We should walk from here, June said. Less chance of being spotted. The five of them, Tay, Nara, June, Suk, and Mina, continued on foot. Nara moved slowly, still weak from her strange illness, but she insisted on coming. Only she could use whatever device they hoped to find. The night was unusually dark, no moon, no stars visible through strange, swirling clouds that had formed above the mountains. June led the way using his knowledge of forest paths. Ty stayed, close to Nara, ready to help her if she stumbled. What's the plan once we get there? Suk whispered. Nara will show us what she needs, Tay said. Then we grab it and run. Just like that? Mina asked. What about the aliens who own the ship? No one had a good answer for that. After an hour of hiking, they reached a ridge overlooking a small valley. Below them sat the alien ship. It was much larger than Nara's scout vessel, black and angular, with no windows. Red lights pulsed along its hull. The ground around it was scorched in a perfect circle. I don't see any aliens, June said, using his binoculars. Nara made an urgent sound and pointed. Moving through the trees below were three tall figures, each at least 7 feet tall. They walked on two legs but moved strangely, almost insect-like. Each carried something that looked like a weapon. What are they? Mina whispered, her face pale in the darkness. Nara drew quickly on her notepad, a picture of the tall beings with a simple word she had learned. Vex. The Vex, Tay said. That's what she calls them. They watched as the Vex moved away from the ship deeper into the forest, toward the town. Now's our chance, Tay said. The ship looks unguarded. Carefully, they made their way down the ridge. As they got closer to the ship, Nara's device began to blink faster. She seemed both frightened and determined. How do we get in? Suk asked when they reached the scorched circle. Nara pointed to a specific spot on the ship's hull. Using gestures, she explained that touching it would open a door. What if it sets off an alarm? June asked. Nara shook her head and made the universal gesture for sleep or quiet. She mimicked pressing something, then tiptoeing. I think she's saying she can open it quietly, Tay guessed, without alerting anyone. Before they could decide what to do, bright lights swept over them. Not from the ship, but from behind. They turned to see two people approaching, a man and a woman in dark clothing, both pointing flashlights and what looked like guns. "Don't move," the man shouted. "Hands where we can see them." Tay stepped in front of Nara, trying to shield her. "We're just hikers," he said. "We got lost. At night, near a restricted area." The woman moved closer. "And I suppose that blue glowing person behind you is just wearing a costume?" June began to run, but the man fired something, not a bullet but a dart that hit June in the leg. He fell instantly. "He's just sleeping," the woman said, seeing their horror. "Now all of you sit down slowly." They had no choice but to obey. The woman kept her weapon trained on them while the man checked on the unconscious June. "I'm Day," the man said. "This is Yuna. We're with military intelligence." "Are you going to kill us?" Suk asked, her voice shaking. Yuna lowered her weapon, slightly. "If we wanted you dead, you would be. We need to talk." To everyone's surprise, Day turned to Nara and spoke in what sounded like her language, a series of musical tones. Nara's eyes widened. She responded hesitantly. "You can understand her?" Tay asked, amazed. "A little," Day said. "We've been studying transmissions from space for years. This isn't our first contact with her kind." This was a shock to everyone, especially Nara, who made excited sounds. "The government knows about aliens?" Mina asked. "A small team does," Yuna explained. "We've known something was coming. That's why we're here." Day turned to Tai. "You've been hiding her, protecting her. Why?" "She needed help," Tay said simply. "She was hurt." Day and Yuna exchanged a look. "We need to move," Yuna said. "Those Vex hunters will be back soon. They're looking for her." "How do we know we can trust you?" Tay asked. Day pointed to the black ship. "Because we're here to destroy that thing before its owners can call more of their kind." After waking June, the group moved to a hidden spot in the forest where Day and Yuna had set up a small camp. They had equipment, computers, strange-looking, devices and weapons. "We've been tracking Nara since she crashed," Day explained. "But the Vex got here faster than we expected." Yuna showed them satellite images on her tablet. 3 Vex ships were in orbit around Earth with more approaching. "Who are they? What do they want?" Tay asked. "Resources," Day said grimly. "Including humans. To them, less advanced species are just things to use." Nara made urgent gestures, pointing to the mountain, then to the sky. "She wants to call her people," Tay explained. "That's why we came to the Vex ship. She needs something from it." Day spoke to Nara in her language again. After a brief exchange, he nodded. "She needs a communication crystal from the Vex ship," he told the others. "Her people, the Luminari, have been watching Earth for centuries. They're peaceful, but they're also powerful. They could help against the Vex." "So we still need to get to that ship," June said. "Yes," Yuna agreed. "But now we have a plan." The plan was dangerous but simple. Tay and Yuna would create a distraction to draw the Vex away from their ship. Meanwhile, Tay and Nara would sneak aboard to find the crystal. June, Suk, and Mina would keep watch and warn them if any Vex returned. As dawn approached, they put the plan into action. Day and Yuna set up small explosives in the forest far from the ship. When they detonated, the remaining Vex guards rushed to investigate. Tai and Nara moved quickly to the ship. This time Nara confidently pressed her hand to the hull. A doorway appeared silently. Inside, the ship was dark and strange. The walls seemed alive, pulsing with red light. The air was thick and hard to breathe. Nara led the way, seeming to know where to go despite never having been on a Vex ship before. They found what they needed in a room filled with crystals of different sizes and colors. Nara selected a blue one that fit in her palm. As they turned to leave, they heard a sound. Heavy footsteps. A Vex had returned to the ship. They hid behind a pillar as the tall, insect-like being entered the crystal room. It moved around, checking something on the walls. Tay held his breath, feeling Nara tremble beside him. The Vex suddenly turned toward their hiding spot. It must have heard them or sensed them somehow. It raised its weapon. Tay reacted without thinking. He picked up a loose crystal and threw it across the room. The Vex turned toward the sound, and Tay rushed forward, tackling the much larger being. It was like hitting a tree. The Vex barely moved, and its skin felt hard like armor. But Tay's attack gave Nara time to act. She pressed the crystal she had taken against the wall, and it began to glow intensely. The Vex made a horrible screeching sound and tried to grab the crystal from Nara. Tay pulled at the alien's arm, knowing he couldn't overpower it but determined to give Nara the time she needed. Outside, the sound of gunfire erupted. The diversion had turned into a real battle. Just as the Vex was about to shoot Tay, the crystal in Nara's hand flashed with blinding light. The Vex froze, then fell to the ground. "Run!" Tay shouted, grabbing Nara's hand. They fled the ship, joining the others outside. Day and Yuna were exchanging fire with two Vex near the tree line. "We got it," Tay called. "Nara has the crystal." Nara held the crystal up to the sky. It began to pulse with blue light, sending a beam straight upward through the clouds. "She's calling them," Yuna said. "The Luminari." The Vex, seeing what Nara was doing, turned all their attention to her. They fired strange energy weapons that scorched the ground where she had been standing moments before. Everyone took cover behind rocks and trees. June had found a fallen Vex weapon and was trying to use it. Mina was recording everything on her phone. Sook helped Yuna tend to Day, who had been injured in the fighting. "How long until her people arrive?" Tay asked. "Hours, maybe days," Day said through gritted teeth. "We need to hold out." The crystal continued to pulse, its beam growing stronger. The clouds above began to swirl, forming a strange pattern. As the battle raged around them, Tay realized something important. This wasn't just about saving Nara anymore. It wasn't even about saving themselves. This was about saving Earth. He looked at Nara, who met his gaze with those large, expressive eyes. In that moment, despite all their differences, despite coming from worlds light years apart, he saw something familiar. Hope. "We'll make it," he told her in simple Korean. Nara smiled, her blue skin glowing brightly. "Together," she replied in her musical voice, a word she had learned well. Above them, the clouds parted as something new entered Earth's atmosphere. The Luminari had arrived.